Waiting for it to turn red. Come on. There it goes. Boom. All right. What's going on, everybody? Hopefully, you guys are able to tune in. I'm just going to double check that we're good to go on my phone real fast. And it looks like we are good to go and live. So, glad everybody have everybody out there in Facebook land on the call or on the Facebook Live, however you want to say it. We're going to be talking about a multitude of things today regarding the COVID-19 space, but how it regards to and how it relates to the scholarship scenarios, college applications, the college entrance scenario, right? Athlete recruitment, a whole bunch of things going to be involved tonight in this discussion that I believe is important not only for our parents out there, our students, but also for the educators and administrators that are in the school system, and also possibly the homeschool parents as well. We're stuck in a scenario with COVID-19 where everybody was kind of hit from out of nowhere, right? Schools were like, hey, what are we supposed to do with online teaching? Where do we go from here? We're not taking, all of a sudden the state testings have gotten, have deceased, if you will. They're not doing those across the board in the United States. Then after the state testing stopped going, then all of a sudden the standardized testing stopped going with the SAT and ACT. So we want to kind of give you guys a little bit more information and let you get a little bit more, how I want to say, more comfortable, if you will, about what's going on. So, of course, we have today three of my favorite individuals across the United States, you know what I'm saying, and what they do. We have Miss Krista Forbes, we have Miss Kiara Jones, and also Tandy Caraway. And, of course, y'all have me, JVille, in the building to moderate and host, if you will. These are my co-hosts. So, for those of you that may not know me, a lot of y'all do, but for those that don't, again, my name is JVille. I'm CEO of Inc. Tutoring. We are the #1 African-American owned and minority owned tutoring company in the Southern United States and DFW. We service students from first grade to doctorate level in STEM subjects, test preps, English, reading, writing, and foreign languages. We have about 81 tutors and consultants nationwide between DFW, Chicago, DC, Austin, and Atlanta. We have plenty of students that we've tutored upwards of about 2,500 plus now and have completed over 8,000 sessions with a 95% success rate of students earning A's and B's, about 50 subjects company-wide, and promote mostly students of color, but we service everybody across the board. I also graduated high school with about $385,000 worth of scholarship money to go to school for free with 2 degrees, just like some of my colleagues here. So just want to kind of give you a real brief background, and we intend to make things happen for this particular year. So I'm going to go ahead and pass the buck real quick to Krista to give herself an introduction, and then we'll move to Kiara, then we'll move to Tandy, then we'll talk about what we need to talk about today. So I'll go ahead and pass it over to you, Krista.
Awesome. Hey, everyone. I am Krista. My athletes call me Coach Krista. I'm a recruitment coach to student athletes, particularly track and field student athletes. I essentially give both parents and student athletes the tools, resources, confidence, blueprint, roadmap, everything that they need to essentially take the recruitment process into their own hands and essentially get noticed by college coaches or get their athletes noticed by college coaches and secure life-changing track scholarship offers. I've helped student athletes over the last 5 years secure over $10 million in scholarships to schools like Villanova, Georgia Tech, Howard University, Boston University, Florida State University, just to name a few. I wish I could name them all, but essentially, I walk student athletes through the process, teaching them the ins and outs of the process so they know what they're doing. I teach them how to find the best college programs for their talent and how to find the schools that are going to attach the best scholarships to their talent.
Awesome. All right. Sounds good. Perfect. Thank you so much. All right, Kiara, go ahead and give them an introduction.
Hello, everyone. I am Kiara Jones with Free Money Maven, CEO. And what my company does is we provide scholarship and student loan forgiveness guidance, consultation, speaking engagements, and college readiness workshops. My story is 5 years, $2 degrees, $0 in student loan debt. And my clients, I assist them with getting scholarship money because we believe in using free money to fund your dreams.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, y'all. As everybody's logging in there. All right, Tandy, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Tandy Caraway. I am the CEO and founder of College Mode Academy, and we focus on students going to school debt-free. So I'm all about that hashtag Full Rise Scholar. My students average $249,000 a year. I had over $1 million in scholarship offers when I went to college. And so my mission right now is to get 1,000 more kids on that same train and going to college debt-free.
Awesome. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for the introductions. Y'all, we're going to kick it off today and tonight, discussing things about the SAT and the ACT. We're going to start off with the testing dates that were already supposed to have happened and where they're going now. And then from that point forward, we'll talk about some other things with the SAT and ACT. So for those of y'all that don't know or didn't know, per COVID-19, the SAT and the ACT were canceled as of March 2020. And they have been rescheduled to June of 2020 as the next administration of either of the exams. Now, there is a caveat for the SAT. They if you have registered for that test beforehand, they were supposed to refund you the money for the SAT or be in process of that for the June exam. I don't know exactly how that's going or if everybody has been refunded yet, but that is supposed to be part of the process. Now, the next administration after June is going to be August 29th of 2020, then October 3rd, November 7th, and December 5th for the SAT. On the ACT side of the house, it'll be June 13th is the next test date. If things go well with COVID-19, hopefully we don't get delayed anymore. July 18th, September 12th, October 24th, and December 12th are the testing dates now. So just to let you guys understand, before I even get into that, let's talk about both of the exams when it is in regards to what's the better exam. So the SAT exam is more so based on content that is not in the classroom, right? It's more conceptual based and content that is, hey, let's try and figure out strategies and different tips and tricks to beat the clock, right? When it comes to taking the exam. However, on the ACT side of the house, we're looking at content that is in the classroom that students have actually learned based on the curriculum. Now, for minority students, that is a test that is best to take nationwide through data and research. But on the SAT side of the house, it's a little bit more of a difficult exam, but different students have different highs and lows when it comes to taking that particular test. And it was already on the fence on whether or not the testing would be, valuable because of the other situation that happened, right? Last year, which is the scandal, right? The Hollywood scandal, if you will, with the SAT and the ACT. So people were kind of looking at, is it a valuable test? Can we really determine if students are able to perform in the colleges and universities based on this exam, based on the fact that students were oftentimes cheating on the exam as well? So just to kind of give you a little bit of background on that, the test was kind of on its way into thinking, hey, is this something that's going to be taken out of the school system anyway? Yes or no, right? And then, of course, COVID-19 followed that. Now, you also have a scenario where right now admissions testing is required by 85% of the universities and colleges across the United States. So now that COVID-19 occurred, where are we at, right? The test has been unavailable since March of this year, and we have a situation where students feel lost, parents feel lost, school systems and universities feel lost as well, right? So now the problem is juniors in high school are now preparing across the country for these tests for quite some time. Now they have no test to take, right? So they've been preparing for months and months on end, and now they have issues trying to figure out, what do I do? Am I supposed to apply to these schools early? Am I going to do early decision? Do I do regular decision? If I'm going to be in sports, am I looking at sweepstakes? What's going on with NCAA? All this stuff is happening per COVID-19, right? Now, College Board will be looking for rescheduling dates. Of course, rather than give refunds, they would rather do that than give people refunds for all the money, right? For all the testing, of course. But we're waiting to see if they're going to reschedule the dates as of now. Colleges, of course, well, actually, let's rewind the tape on that. It is possible that colleges will not want their applications to be contingent upon test scores because of the COVID-19 scenario. So there are decisions to still be made on who is going to do what school is going to do what, and what systems of schools are going to do what regarding the exam. For the juniors that are going to be in class of 2021, there is an item, what they call as test optional, that students will have an option to push in when they go and apply to these schools. So be aware of that on this particular live as well. Some high schools have already waived testing for this particular year's seniors as well. So that's kind of in the mode of progression. And also universities will not really know who's going to show up at their school. Am I going to have students who are not prepared academically show up at my school? Am I going to have students who are just test takers come to my school? Am I going to have who's coming, right? Now that this is happening, they can't put the test in. I don't know who's coming to my school. That can be a level playing field though too, right? Okay, well, if I'm not academically, if I'm not test prone, right? I'm not test savvy. Now that the tests are gone, I have a better chance of getting into the school. But for those that are more test heavy or test savvy, right, and they're not academically savvy, now they have an issue because now the academics may have more weight when they go into the school. So that's something to think about when you're talking about going to these schools and having your students go into college. Now, of course, in tutoring, we offer test prep for the SAT, a whole bunch of other exams. Per Bloomberg, which is a big news source, obviously, right? There's some individuals in the testing space and in the tutoring space that say right now, have your kids continue to prep, if possible, for these particular exams, because we don't know if they're going away quite yet. We do know that they're going to be delayed for quite some time, but we don't know if they're going to be gone indefinitely. So if you are in a tutoring scenario, please have your students, or if they're still studying and things like that, please have them still study for the exam or get tutored for the exam over time, right? I know for us particularly, we've had some students that just rolled off of studying for the test because they were going to take it in March. But now that they got to take it in June, they're just going to restudy on their own. We're not going to really have them tutoring in our organization anymore because they can obviously do self-study at this time. Excuse me, both the ACT and the College Board, which administer these particular exams, have canceled the test. So now we're looking at applications being possibly delayed as well for them going to college. Now, kids that want to play college sports in 2020 and 21, this will be a question, of course, for Coach Krista a little bit later on, but how will it impact them, right? Will the NCAA give students a waiver? Will they go to junior college? Will they go to JUCO? Will they be redshirted? How is the scholarship money going to be allocated now because of COVID-19 and them not having any test scores to go off of? How does that look like when it comes to our students that are juniors and seniors in high school that want to go into NCAA Division I? A lot of colleges have also shifted to online instruction as well, right? With varying degrees of success. So here's what they're thinking about now. Do I pass-fail the students? Do I reduce my course offerings? What exactly am I doing with the instruction now, and how am I going to allocate this towards the admissions process for colleges? So again, that's something to think about. Now, those of you that are on this particular live who may be having students who want to go to UC schools or Cal State system schools, those particular two systems are suspending letter grade requirements for them to go into, those things to be considered for admission, right? There's 15 prescribed college prep courses that were completed in winter, spring, or summer of 2020 for all those students, including the most recently admitted freshmen, right? Cal State, though, may also make some exceptions with that coming soon for the California state universities or whatnot. But there's going to be a case-by-case basis for some of these situations as well. UC is also suspending standardized test requirements for students that are applying also in the fall of 2021, those are going to be those freshmen that come out, right? The SAT and the ACT scores are going to be used to determine their eligibility for admission, possibly, if they decide to go that route and June continues to be a test date. But right now, applicants may have problems providing those particular metrics because if they were supposed to have taken the exam, they don't have any recent scores or any super scores to go off of. So now they're stuck, right? So again, things are kind of like in flux at the moment, right? But neither of those two systems are going to rescind the admission offers that result from students, missing those particular. It's a good thing for our student population out there as well. One other thing to note for transfer students, UC, if it's a UC thing, we'll temporarily suspend the cap on the number of transferable units with a pass or no pass grading applied for the minimum 60 semester and 90 quarter units required for junior standing. Cal State will also accept credit or pass for required courses taken in the winter, spring, or summer of 2020. Now, there may be other schools that may follow suit. We're not too sure about that right now. However, when we get more information as a unit, then we'll be more happy than to let you guys know what's going on. And then lastly, just to name a few schools, y'all, of who is dropping the SAT and ACT requirement of the high school juniors in the fall of 2021 and making the admissions test optional are these schools. And there's 1,050 of them. I do have two lists that I'm going to drop in the actually, when we get done with this live, I'll just go ahead and do it on this other phone, but I'll go ahead and drop the links for you can check to see if the school that your kid wants to go to or your student wants to go to is included in the dropping test requirement list and or the test optional list. But just a short snippet is Tufts University, Boston University, University of Cal System. There's 200,000 students in 9 campuses who are excluded there. Cal State University System, 23 schools. University of System in Georgia. Alma College in Michigan. Schreiner University in Texas. University of Oregon, they have actually excluded it permanently. So it's not tentative, it's gone. Peace out. I'm going to holler at you later. Oregon State is also permanently. Scripps College, University of Cumberland, Franklin College, 17 other universities. So with that being said, I'm going to drop those 2 links of the schools you need to check on and see if your student is going to any of those schools. And we'll see what happens from that point forward. Of course, like I said, if you guys need any more information on that, definitely let us know. Drop questions in the comments, and either of us will feel free to reach out to you through our respective platforms and also on Facebook. So with that being said, I'm going to hand it on over to Krista to kind of talk a little bit more about what is what is the athlete recruitment side of the house look like for Div 1, and how does that impact the COVID-19 situation? So go ahead.
All right. So here again, founder of College Pro Academy. I know that we got College Mo Academy here. Founder of College Pro Academy here. So essentially what's happening right now. So this is probably the affecting class of 2020 most of all. So what's happening right now is that the NCAA has kind of put, I want to say it's essentially what is called as dead period. And essentially athletes and coaches cannot meet face-to-face for the foreseeable future, I believe until May 31st. So that's basically the rest of the season that they can't meet face-to-face. So specifically for track and field athletes, we also know that essentially the season is canceled. Like, outdoor events are currently canceled. So typically how athletes would get scholarships if they kind of didn't do things on their own is that they would anticipate that college coaches would see them first and then make them an offer, or they would anticipate that they would put up better stats to get better scholarships at states. And now a lot of kids, like for a lot of people, states is now out of the question where it's almost canceled indefinitely. So there are a lot of people who are just like, at this point, what do we do? Where do we go? And there's a lot of confusion there. What is happening, however, you will see that, offers are still being made. It's just that with this dead period, I believe for another 2 weeks, athletes may not be able to sign a letter of intent. So a letter of intent is basically a contract between athletes and a university saying that I am coming to your school for a certain amount of money, and that's that on that. So the NCAA is allowing for athletes to start signing in about 2 weeks, at about I believe April 15th. So That's track side. So track side athletes who had some, some stats to work with, who weren't waiting for the rest of the season to play out, they can still get noticed by coaches. They can put themselves in front of coaches and they can reach out and they can still get offered based on the amount of money that coaches still had. Who will suffer right now, or who will have the most problems right now, are athletes who didn't quite have the stats and we're looking to the rest of the season, the rest of the outdoor season, to be able to put up those stats to get scholarships. Another thing is that because the outdoor season has been canceled, there's been a lot of debate. I'm not sure if they've yet decided what's going to happen, but essentially there's been a lot of debate as to if the NCAA is going to give athletes back, the college athletes back, this season that they just missed. So essentially you have a certain amount of season that you can compete in college before you're out of eligibility. So what happens when you did not get to use that final season? There will be athletes who could potentially come back. So college programs are now trying to figure out, based on the conversations that I've still had with a number of coaches, they still have to figure out how that money is going to work out, what they plan to do with that money. So coaches really have to be strategic. Typically how coaches give scholarships, it's who's leaving, what money is being freed up, that money gets committed to athletes who are coming in. What happens if now, that money is no longer available? So athletes who have signed previously, so who signed earlier in the season or earlier in the year, they're pretty much good. They've signed that contract. It's for athletes who are speaking with coaches and didn't quite lock in that offer yet. They now have to revisit and have those conversations with coaches and figure out, okay, what money is still going to be available. I would also say for programs like football and basketball, where getting seen and exposure is how you get offers, they're probably having also a difficult time because coaches cannot physically see them. They're going to have to rely on tapes that they had before. They can't rely on camps and different services that would have been used to get them evaluated by coaches. So right now it's a lot of confusion. A lot of kids are wondering what's going to happen. I'd say internationally as well. Of course, that may not impact a lot of the people that are on live right now, but internationally, I ended up, I'm Jamaican, so I did speak with quite a number of Jamaican athletes and Jamaican press. And what happened is March is really when the recruitment process starts for a lot of kids. And what's happened is the biggest sporting event in the country for Jamaicans has been canceled. So I ended up having about 50 or 60 kids reach out to me saying, hey, we don't know what to do. We don't know anything about the American college system. This sporting event is when we would get noticed by college coaches because it's one of the biggest events in the Caribbean, or even on the high school level for track and field. And now those athletes have no idea what to do next. So it really is a lot of confusion. And I would say it's still going to take some time for coaches to figure it out. But if athletes and parents want answers, they're going to have to go directly to coaches to find out, because as of right now, a lot of schools are dealing with it very differently, and programs are dealing with it on a program by program basis.
Interesting. So where do you see the biggest challenge for those students who want to really apply to the schools and get an early decision? How do you think that impacts their dynamic when it comes to the athletic side?
Well, the athletic side, I would say that it impacts it tremendously. So typically what you would do is you wait for a coach to say, hey, go ahead and apply. Because if you're not going to be able to run for that school or compete for that school, it almost doesn't make sense to apply. So right now we're having coaches kind of saying, we're not sure. So athletes aren't able to apply because like I said, it's almost unnecessary. If you can't compete for that school, you're not going to go there. So because coaches have said, hey, we're not sure what's happening, we're pushing pause on this, we're pushing pause on recruiting, we're pushing pause on giving scholarships, a lot of athletes have kind of pushed pause on even doing college applications.
I got you. Perfect. Cool. Well, anybody have anything else to add to that piece? We good on that? Go ahead.
So, Krista, if they had a fall sport, because track and field is a spring sport, they had a fall sport, they did their season, maybe they were counting on like senior season, to do some things to get their stats up. What happens, or I know I had a student in particular that had an offer pending, and this is an individual thing. I know we got to contact that college, but I think there may be some other kids in the same situation.
Yeah.
Where he was working on his test scores for this March date, and the date isn't there. Have you had any situations? Do you have any advice for students who were looking, he needed to get a score of like 50 points to get a full ride at this particular college, although he had an offer on the table. We were trying to like get him to his number one.
Yeah. So I would say for athletes like those, if you do have an offer from one school, it's highly likely that there are 3 offers similar to it or even better out there. That's typically my rule of thumb. So I would say for athletes who were kind of banking on, putting up better stats or taking the test one more time, I would say either consider accepting the offer that you have on the table and working for a better offer. Again, that one is a little bit risky just because when you accept an offer, you're saying, I can afford to do this. I can afford to accept this offer. I can afford to go to all the practices and do all of this. And that's the offer that I'm okay with. So if you're working for a better offer, it's very difficult to get that better offer because how coaches recruit is once they have you, they've moved on to the next class. They're not really focused on giving who they have more money because you've already shown that you will do the work and you can afford to pay the balance. So for kids like that, what I would say is either if you are in a position to accept the offer on the table, then do accept it. I've actually had a parent in my program. Essentially, she needed the balance left was $2,000 to pay for school. That was it. And her son was very much on his way to getting a full ride had he been able to compete for the rest of the season. It didn't happen. So they did accept that offer and they're just going to choose to pay that $2,000. However, if that's not possible for other families, I would say restart that search. That's the best thing to do, to get on it as soon as possible. Restart that search, start getting in front of coaches and start having those conversations with coaches that are likely to give you more money for the stats that you have.
Okay.
Awesome.
And are there any special tools?
There's
some I never, so I'm gonna give this so my people know. I never tell y'all a tool because I will do some back end research, but that's not my wheelhouse. So we got Krista here tonight to get y'all all the goods.
All right.
So for the tools, I would say it would just be looking at mile split and looking at what's happening on the collegiate circuit and finding where your athlete provides the most value. So what a lot of parents think, and a lot of parents currently are devastated because they're just like, my athlete cannot get noticed by college coaches. College coaches don't need to see your athlete to offer them. I actually have had international student athletes who've gone off on $60,000 a year full scholarships, and the first time they met the coach was when they moved on campus. So for a lot of sports like track and field, it's about the numbers. For football, it's about the footage. So it's not always that coaches have to see you in person. You just have to have proof that you know your stuff. So what it is just finding those collegiate programs, checking out mile split if you're a track athlete. If you can, if you're like a more exposure-based sport like football or basketball or any volleyball, those exposure-based sports, you're going to want to put together the best highlight video you can possibly put together from competition. And then you just want to get that in front of as many coaches as possible. And it's very easy to find coaches' information online. Just because at this point, I would say coaches are more open to hearing from athletes because they can no longer go out and find kids. They have to rely on the same means that athletes are now using to find those coaches. So the tools would be Wi-Fi. Like if you have that, you can get your offer. The next thing would be a killer highlight tape if you're an exposure-based sport. And if you're a numbers-based sport like track and field and like swimming, find out where your numbers do the most damage. Find out where your numbers will make the biggest impact as soon as you step on campus.
Perfect. Awesome. All right. Good information. Y'all, that is phenomenal information, y'all. We're just getting cracking into the middle of this thing right here. So thank you, Coach Krista, for making sure that you give us the most updated information on how that relates to COVID-19 in the process right now. So next, we're going to go ahead and move on to Ms. Kiara Jones, who's going to give us more information per COVID-19 on the scholarship side of the house. And then we'll move on to Ms. Tandy. And then we'll have y'all, just so y'all know, we are going to have a Q&A briefly after this as well. And then, of course, if there's any question that we haven't answered, you can definitely reach out to us or comment on the Facebook thread, and we'll try and answer those questions as much as possible throughout the time. So I'll go ahead and give it to the floor to Ms. Kiara.
Okay, hi everybody. Again, I'm Kiara Jones, CEO of Free Money Maven. And so I'm going to split this into two topics. We're going to talk about scholarships and talk about state of just student loans right now. I'll kick it off with student loans. the CARES Act stimulus legislation that came out put in there that any federal loans are suspended for payment until September 30th, 2020. And what that specifically means is no federal loan payments, no interest on your federal loans, and they cannot garnish your wages because of those federal loans. And so now is the time. A lot of people are saving right now, trying to make sure they're prepared if anything happens. But if you feel like, you have your 3 to 6 months worth of emergency fund savings, if you wanted to tackle that principal and start to really pay down on that balance, I think now would also be a good time because you don't have to worry about that interest getting in your way. So that's the student loan perspective at the moment. And there are some relief options that I've seen out there, not too many at the moment, but I'm sure more will come because this is an ever-changing environment. Scholly has a fund where you sign up and you're applying for $200 cash assistance, and that's MyScholly, MyScholl.com/relief. And so you can apply for that.
And real quick here, we are partners of Scholly. FYI, y'all, we are an official partner affiliate for Scholly, so definitely make sure you do that. Ink Tutoring is a partner with them as well. So thank you for mentioning that. I totally forgot. Go ahead.
No problem. Big fan of Scholly, by the way. Since we're talking about student loans, there are student loan forgiveness programs out there. Scholly has been a leader in this area. They are really doing a lot of it where you can go in, apply on their website in less than 2 minutes for different programs that they have. Right now, they have a scholarship, the Lil Nas X scholarship that's out there on their website for $10,000 for 3 people. So if you're in high school, go ahead and do that. And then they have their student loan relief fund. They're trying to give away like $1 million, I believe, right, for student loans. So go ahead and check out Scholly's website. But that's the student loan piece of it. From a scholarship perspective, what I'm really seeing in these consultations that I do, I'm seeing deadline extensions for some scholarships. Personally, I would say that there's seasons when it comes to scholarships, in my opinion. And the January to March timeframe is a really heavy scholarship season. So a lot of scholarships are already kind of wrapping up. And if you see the extension, those are scholarships that were closing around that March, April timeframe. But again, there's some deadline extensions going on there. There are a few COVID scholarships. I haven't seen too many. They're really particular. So if you want to go into your Google browser, type in COVID scholarships and see what you can get, there are options there. But honestly, right now, we're at home. A lot of people are at home. This is an opportunity to get ahead, to use that to apply for more scholarships. If you've already applied for scholarships, then get a folder structured together of essays that you've written previously and make it easier for yourself. The easier it is, the likely you are to apply and the more money you will get. And I feel like now is truly the time to go ahead and just start to knock out those applications and get more money for yourself.
Awesome. Anything else to add on that, y'all?
Yeah, I was going to say, I can't hear you.
It's still on mute.
Y'all, hold on, y'all, real quick. I thought that was from me. Did anybody have an issue hearing what she just said? If so, I apologize. I hope that wasn't for the whole thing. It was just that.
No, I heard her.
Okay.
It was just you. I heard her.
Okay, just want to make sure. Whew, I was going to say, I hope that wasn't. Okay, good. There was a question real quick before we go to you, Tandy. Somebody said, hey, what's up, Shantae? Miss Tundra Alfred said, what should student athletes graduating in 2021, 2022 be focused on?
Right now, it's building those relationships with college coaches, finding those programs where their current stats will likely get them looks from college coaches. So 2021 specific, you want to start getting in front of coaches now, especially if your athlete has Ivy League aspirations. Mm-hmm. Ivy League schools actually at the 2021 stats. So I'm sorry, the junior year stats. They don't look at senior year because by the time that senior year season starts, it's too late for them to consider you because those deadlines are hard deadlines on the Ivy level. So if your athlete has Ivy League aspirations, then they want to start talking to those coaches from now, so those coaches can potentially look at them and say, okay, I saw what you did. I saw that you didn't get to, I saw what you did for indoor your junior year. I saw that you could have what you could have done your senior for the rest of your junior year. So let's keep that conversation going. So 2020 and 2021 parents, before I go on, 2020 parents specifically, if your athlete does not have an offer now, you need to be hitting the phones, you need to be hitting those emails, voicemails, you need to be getting in front of those coaches now because they're offering now. This is not a standstill period. This is like, it's not like nothing's happening. Coaches are giving money now because it's anticipated that the season will not get restarted. So typically what coaches do is that they save their money, they hold it tight just for those breakout athletes that happen during the summer, but it's likely that it can possibly not happen. So coaches are committing their money now. So if your athlete does not have an offer now as a 2020, it's time to actually get in front of those coaches who are going to offer your athlete now. Whereas 2021, you can start building relationships because you have a little bit more time, but still start, like for both those years, start getting in front of those coaches, start talking to those coaches. Like there is no let's wait and see. That's what's gotten a lot of parents and athletes into the problems that they're having now, that wait and see mentality. Like, I'm going to trust the process. I'm going to trust God, I trust God. But, a lot of parents have just kind of waited until now, and they're seeing why that's a problem. So if you can get started tomorrow or yesterday, that is what parents and athletes should be focusing on right now, getting in front of those coaches and getting those relationships going.
Awesome. All right. Perfect. Great question, y'all. Like I said, drop the questions in the comments. We'll try and catch those and answer those as we go along. And then we'll have a Q&A after we're done. So I'm going to go ahead and pass the torch on to Ms. Tandy Caraway, who will then elaborate a little bit more on her scholarship side of the house as it relates to the current climate that we're dealing with right now. So go ahead and take it away.
All right. So jumping in, I'm going to start out actually answering a question. Gail Payne said, I know there are full scholarships for athletes, but what about those that are academically inclined? So that's a perfect segue into, what I wanted to talk about and kind of address. So Jay started out the conversation about how this was affecting us on the test prep side. If those test scores aren't there, all they're left with is academic and what you've done outside school hours. Let me say that again. If test scores aren't there, all they're left with is academic and what you've done outside the school. So if you didn't fit into Krista's category with the athletics, that means that you should be on the leadership service side of the house, or artistic theater, somewhere in that realm. You should have something else that carries some weight on your plate for scholarships. Okay. So what's going to happen, what's typically happens. So I made this list. I won't run through the whole entire list, you guys. I'll drop the link on Monday night, and then you guys hear the full list. But basically what's happening is there's schools that are already doing competitive scholarship processes for their full rides. And so you can expect that people won't reinvent. They'll go out there and find something that's the best practice that's already working and put it into place. And so even if SAT, ACT is not the thing they're using, right now, FAMU, Florida A&M University, has a process where they look at your test scores, they look at your academics and all that stuff. They will offer you a full ride, but you have to come there in the spring and take a math test on their campus. If you do not test college ready on their campus that day, you no longer have a scholarship offer. So yeah, so there's some stuff already happening where they're verifying what's going on and things, and the students' writing skills, because reading and writing are the most prevalent skills you need for college. They want to test your ability to see if you're really college ready. So you can expect that they're going to be looking for graded work samples. So the thing I said Monday night was make sure that you are doing your absolute best for a couple of reasons with your teachers, even under these circumstances. You may be asked for a graded writing sample. So what if you're turning in anything because they said they're going to do pass or fail? They asked for a graded writing sample. You're trying to make that October deadline. You might not have anything impressive to give. So make sure you're doing your best right now. The other thing is you need letters of recommendation, and your teachers are stressed out. They stressed out just like your parents stressed out, just like you stressed out. And I just told this to a kid. I'm like, listen, you need to make this as easy as possible on this person, because those things are going to be weighted more heavily. Typically, those things have been for the designer, tier 1, Ivy League, Ivies that have weighed those things heavily. But you can expect that these other schools, when they drop their requirement or they waive it, even if they just do it for 1 year, they have to have something else to go on to give out the scholarship money. And those are the things they're going to go with the best practices, consult their peers. There's consortiums out there where they have the platforms right now where they're sharing information. So they're not in start from scratch. They're going to find things that are already working and go from there. The last thing that I want to say about the scholarships and college admissions is, and this one is hard for me because it's painful as a minority and a minority woman, Black woman, have to talk about this. But they've been using big data analytics on our kids. They've been using it. And so when they pull the data from what zip code you're in, how your school profile has fared, how kids from your neighborhood already done, your city, and all those things, standardized tests like STAR, EOCs, FCAT if you're in Florida, you know all these things, Smarter Balance, Common Core assessments, all those things. They are able to pull those things from your transcript and feed them into the system and see how kids have fared from your area with your same demographics and make a decision whether they think you're going to probably graduate or not. And if you don't come up as a kid likely to graduate because of those things, they're probably not going to offer you a scholarship. So there's a lot on the table right now, even for class of 2021 and 2022. So testing has been waived. So, you get a reprieve. For most states, testing has been waived this year for the state testing. It's just, I want you to be aware that some of these things that they had been doing that weren't as concerning, they were in my mind, but I wasn't putting it out there in the public. There's a concern now because they're going to rely on some of that data more than they have in the past when they're talking about admissions, especially on the scholarship side, because they don't have as much info if they usually use the test. So just be aware that those are some things to really be thoughtful about, like what your work ethic is right now, who you're making relationships with, as far as adults that can write letters of recommendations, because those things will weigh heavily. And I didn't see any more. Oh, there's some more questions, but I'll let Jay moderate because I think that's for Krista. So be thoughtful about what your kid is doing right now. If they're a sophomore, I hate to say it, but Dr. Fauci has said this thing will flare back up. And so, well, just have to, I'm just saying what it is.
Krista's like,
I'm a realist. I'm not being a pessimist about this.
No, you're good.
I'm just telling you, do your best, guys. Like, don't let your kid, if they're a sophomore, if they're beyond freshman year, we don't know what this thing is going to look like. They're going to have to do their best to make their connections, get their letters of recommendation, and put their best foot forward because it's going to count. There's some kid whose parent is out there still paying for tutors, coaches, whatever they need virtually, and your kid is going to have to compete with them for this money.
Absolutely. Awesome information. Perfect. We do have one quick question from Mr. Lucas here, Chris Lucas. He says, I'm planning on running track and field in grad school. I also have an interest in joining the marching band as well. Is it possible doing both, or should I really stick to one and do the track and field fall training? My main event is the 800 meters. So I'll let Krista kind of chime in on that. In my opinion, I believe you could actually do both depending on your schedule and how much of a workload you really put on and the dedication you have. But I'm going to let the expert right here talk about that, though.
So it also depends. So I'm hearing that it's for grad school. What does that eligibility look like? So I'm assuming that we still have eligibility. Is it that you didn't run track undergrad, or you still have a year left, or you're going to use that fifth year? And it really just depends on the time commitment. So if you're going to do that, I believe it's that 2 years. It depends on how much years you have left. So if your grad program is 2 years and you have 1 year left of eligibility, then you may be able to do both because you'll have that time. If it's that I'm not sure how your eligibility is working out for you to be able to run track. But typically, because of the type of sport that track is, where you are literally conditioning starts in around October and you compete until about April, May. Typically, you don't find athletes are doing multiple sports at the same time if they're actual track runners. So it just depends on your eligibility and how it's looking like, as well as the time commitment that's going to be required of you. So again, it's just going to depend based on the program that you go to. If you're going to go to a Division III program, then it's actually quite possible just because it's not as competitive. If you're going to go to a Division I program, a little less likely because of the level of competition and what's going to be required of you as an athlete.
Absolutely. Perfect. Thank you so much for that input. The next thing, Tiffany Willis said, should sophomores get letters of recommendations? Absolutely. Really, you should be getting letters of recommendations your freshman year of high school, honestly. If your classes and they're headed on a trajectory to go to either a higher level school or a mid-level school, then they should be actually gaining and garnering those letters of recommendations from either their teachers, their coaches, leaders in the community, and things like that. So when they do get to that and they have to look at admission, they already got those recommendations in the queue. So now they can just push those out to their particular schools respectively. But I'll go ahead and let's let Kiara go first, and then we'll go ahead and run around and see what everybody else's opinion is.
Yeah, I was actually going to say, and not necessarily from a recommendation letter perspective, but more like a reference letter for writing scholarships. Your child should be thinking constantly, which teacher would write something like that for me? And a lot of people have the misconception that you apply for scholarships in 11th grade or 12th grade. No, there are scholarships out there, even in middle school, early high school. So as soon as you are able to, you should, because that leads you to the path of full scholarship early on. If you can't get a full scholarship, partial scholarship is always a great option. But again, you are going to need those people who can speak to you and the great things about you in order to get that scholarship. So 10th grade, perfect.
All right, Tandy, what do you think?
Absolutely. I think you should get them. The other thing that's happening with some of our schools is we have a lot of teacher turnover now. And so you may go back to a teacher that was sponsoring you in a club or that may have had like really good stories to tell inside the classroom and outside the classroom, but they're no longer available at your school. You don't know how to get to them. So I'm a fan of actually getting the letters as you see that teacher has a great story about it. And marketing would say when a client has a win, that's the best time to go get that testimonial. When your teacher has a great story about you or praises you about something, that's a great time. That's a teacher that want to go get that letter from while it's fresh in their mind, or you want to journal it yourself and remind them when you ask them for that letter.
Absolutely. Anything to add to that, Krista?
So for track and field, I would say that those things don't quite impact athletic scholarships as much. So I don't too much have anything to say on that one.
All right, sounds good. Lucas did say, the guy that asked about track and field, he said, I still have 2 full years of eligibility when I get to grad. I'm looking at Florida A&M as one of my options.
Oh, awesome. Again, that's going to come down to, because you have those 2 years, that means you can run for those 2 years. So it's going to come down to just the requirement of the program of you. Like for at a HBCU, band sounds like it sounds like a full-time job. So to balance both track and field, FAMU is Division I, if I'm not mistaken. There are Division I programs, so Division I track plus march plus band, which is very much a full-time sport based on what I've seen. I'm gonna say it's a little bit difficult.
Right,
so you want to get in front of that coach and you want to get the offer from that coach. And if they're not offering and it's a walk-on position, then you can very much do band. If they're gonna give you scholarship money, which means they're gonna invest in you and they want results from, highly likely that it's not gonna be possible. So it just depends on what route you decide to go through.
Awesome. Sounds good. We do have another question, but before we get to that question, y'all, I want to touch on something real quick that I think that a lot of parents need to hear. If your student, whether or not they're a freshman, actually not even that, they're a 7th grader, 8th grader, all the way up to 12th grade, if your kids are not taking the right classes, meaning regular pre-AP and AP, they are going to be at a huge disadvantage. Even in pre-COVID-19, they will be at a huge disadvantage for gaining the most amount of scholarships based on GPA and getting that final GPA calculation at the end of the high school year when they graduate, and they need to have that particular GPA to get where they want to get to, right? So in order for them to have the best advantage, they should be taking the higher level courses. Now, suffice it might be too hard. It's not like that. Pre-AP courses oftentimes it's not about them being harder. The coursework is a little bit more, but it's not a more difficult course. But here's my thing. When you're a freshman in high school, and suffice it to say, when I was a senior in high school, I was a little young. I graduated when I had just barely turned 16, but I had 8 AP classes, right? But in freshman year of high school, you should at least be taking 2 to 3. This is my opinion. Everybody else can chime in, but you should at least be taking at least 2 to 3 per AP courses freshman year, or 1 AP course freshman year. Sophomore year, at least 3 or 4. Junior year, at least 5. And then senior year, at least 6, to be competitive enough to go to your higher level tier 1 schools, and then at least at the top part of the tier 3 schools, which are kind of like your bottom of the line schools, but tier 2 is like your average good schools, right? But you have the classes that translate to the best GPA when you get higher points for taking those higher level courses. So please ensure, and don't let the counselors be like, oh, you should be taking this regular class. Well, nah, wait a minute. I think that I should be qualified enough to take these STEM courses, right? These math courses, these science courses, whatever, right? So these CTE courses, so I will be able to have the best advantage for when I get to college, and I can do something as outside of sports, if I'm in sports, as a backdrop if I get hurt. They got to think about these things prior to school. But anybody else, y'all can chime in too, just, whatever y'all thoughts are on it.
I was going to say, I think it does depend on the school, though. I know in my school district, they limited the in certain years.
Right.
But I agree with you. If you are able to take those classes, do take the class. It kind of has a compound effect. You take those classes early on, and you take the exam, and then you get these scholarships and all that. That works out well for you early in your career. So you make the right decisions, it turns out well for you. But then also take the exam. I know so many people who would actually take the course, but they don't take the exam. You can't get the college credit for it. So it kind of is null and void type of thing.
Good point. Good point. I forgot about that. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm a fan of making sure the kid can maintain a 3.5. And this is just my goal, is that they can maintain a 3.5 GPA, because if they don't have the money to go ride full tuition, start at that 3.5 level for the colleges, unless they have something really outstanding talent outside of that, like I said, performing arts, track, whatever, athletics. If academics is going to be the thing you got to run with, then I'm a fan of whatever will get you where you can maintain the 3.5. And so that sometimes does mean doing art and other things to get your weighted up if you're not that strong in the core, right? So there's other ways to get those points in and be creative with that. And so I agree with Jay to a certain extent. If you're looking for top tier, you're looking for baby Ivies, public Ivies, designer, elite, all of that stuff. If you're not as concerned about that, make sure that you're not following and you don't. So I see students that are like, I deserve to be in an honors class. And I don't think it's about whether you deserve to be in an honors class. Are you going to perform? Are you going to throw away thousands of dollars scholarship money because you wanted to be in that class and you don't want to be honest about your ability to perform in that class? And so I think people just need to be focused on that. And then we had a couple questions about dual credit versus AP. And like me and Jay are both equipped to talk about that. So there are schools where the ranking, they get a little extra points for AP, because a lot of times AP is more rigorous than dual credit.
Right.
And so there's schools where AP and dual credit are both weighted the same on that weighted GPA. And so for schools where rank matters a lot, like UT Austin, Texas A&M here in the state of Texas, and those other schools we were talking about, that's going to be important, right? But if they are ranked the same, this is my opinion. I'll let Jay give his. I say go for the dual credit. You don't have to take a test. Get your credit, get your free money. To me, that's another form of free money for sure. That's guaranteed, because some of these colleges only take a 4 or a 5 on the AP test. And so if you're not performing at that level, you're taking the class and you still miss your money.
I want to piggyback off of that. I think that I think dual credit is great, and for me, it would be preferred if, like, Kiara was saying, if you don't end up taking the exam and you're just taking the course to get that experience of being in a college level course, then the dual credit is going to be the better option in my opinion. But if you are going to take the exam, you're going to ramp up all your AP credit. If you get a 3 or above on those particular exams, you'll have more. You'll have more. What do I want to say? You'll have more chances to get a higher level when you get to college. I mean, you can start off college way higher than if you would at a dual credit. You do get the associate's degree if you graduate with the dual credit, but you'll have a little bit more experience with the college level courses if you're going to take the exams and pass them. Not just take them, but take them and pass them. You'll have a little bit more of a better advantage when you get out there to college. Ms. Durant, okay, Latasha said, I noticed most scholarships ask for cumulative GPA and not weighted GPA. So I guess there's a kind of a catch-22 with some of those as well, right? When it comes to the scholarship, but it just depends on which one you're going for. What if the schools limit the number of AP courses a student can take? That's what Kiara was just talking about. In terms of the limit, if you have a situation where schools limit the number of AP courses a student can take, then you want to cap out on whatever that limit is. If it's 5, go on and take 5. If it's 6, go on and take 6. If it's 3, go on and take 3. However, there shouldn't be a cap on the number of pre-AP courses you're taking. So if you want to have a mixture of AP and pre-AP during the course of you being in high school, then make sure your kid is taking all those classes, but don't overwhelm them to a point where they can't. I always say, you only take the amount of classes you can take to where it doesn't negate the fact that you take them to begin with, which means that you don't want to overstress yourself. Not everybody is going to be all of us on this particular call. We all have different backgrounds and different tension points, right? When we're taking classes. When I was a freshman, I was 12 years old. I was in a mode to where I was going in, right? But not everybody is that particular person or that particular kid that's going to be super motivated to do things. But that kid also might be, you don't want to underestimate that kid either. They might be able to take some AP courses, some pre-AP courses where you may think that they're regular as a parent. So you got to know your student is really the best answer for that part. But you guys can chime in if you want.
Yeah. I would say with the max AP, for the elite colleges, they're going to look at the school profile to make a decision. So they're going to look at how hard your kid pushed himself versus what was available to kid. So you just want to make sure if there is a cap on the number of AP classes that they can take, that and they're applying to an elite college, when they turn in that school profile, that it is accurate and says that, so that the college is aware that the kid made the highest choice that they could make. And then the other thing is you can also look into some virtual school options over the summer, get with your district, see if you can transfer in AP credit and your kid can take virtual AP classes over the summer, possibly, and do that to bump it up. That's another thing for kids that don't perform as well with all the pressure on them. That's another one of my tricks. I've never let that out the bag. JM got it out of me, y'all. That's one of the behind the scenes tricks I use with my kids.
I mean, we're here for the people tonight. We're here for the culture. You know what I'm saying? We're here for the culture tonight. But cool, perfect. So does anybody? Oh, it says okay. Does anybody have any other lasting things to kind of say on the panel about their respective field and or kind of what's going on right now to close out this part with COVID-19? Then we're going to open it up to any last minute Q&A. And then we can close it out. I want to respect everybody's time. I know some people are on the East Coast. So anybody have any lasting things to say?
I'll say one quick thing. You do not have to be an A student. You do not have to get a scholarship. You can get a scholarship for being tall. You can get scholarships that take 2 minutes to apply to, right. Scholarships that take a while to apply to. There are so many options out there. Do not limit yourself. And when I say scholarships right now, I'm talking about the external scholarships outside the school, but there are different processes where you can still try to get as much money within the school as well. But as far as external scholarships, just know that there are options out there. It seems so much harder than it truly is. When you get started, it builds with momentum and you see results.
Appreciate it. And of course, You're coming from Maryland, right? Yeah, so y'all, she's coming all the way from Maryland and DMV. So give it up for Kiara on the DMV side of the house. All right, and then anything to give Krista? Anything left?
Yeah. So to piggyback off that, you know, you don't have to be a star athlete to get scholarships. So that's what I thought, and it almost cost me $100,000 offer.
Ooh.
I thought I had to be a star student athlete to get noticed by coaches, and that is not the case. There's literally probably over 1,000 college programs that offer athletic scholarships. So you don't have to be a star athlete. You just simply have to find the programming for your athlete, or if you're an athlete watching this, you just have to find the programs looking for your stats and your skill sets as well as your grades. So you can go to school. I specialize in working with overlooked, under-recruited, and slept on student athletes like I was. You know, at one point I wasn't paying a dime for school, and there was a point where no coaches were looking at me. I graduated unrecruited, actually. So I didn't have my offer until 3 weeks after graduation. So saying that all to say is that, you know, even if your athlete is not a standout athlete, even if they aren't on college coaches' radars right now, they can still get top scholarships. It's just about finding the schools that are looking for them.
Awesome, y'all. And she's coming all the way from the ATL, right?
Yeah.
So y'all, me and Krista got something up our sleeves when I moved to Atlanta here in a couple months to expand the tutoring company in Atlanta and Charlotte. We got some things that we're going to partner on to work on as well when I get out there. So please, we have something up our sleeve for sure. All right, yeah. Go ahead, Tandy. Go ahead. Any last things before we open up to general Q&A?
The only thing I would say is just piggybacking on the same thing Kiara and Krista said. I have kids that get and I call that the easiest route, right? You work hard through school and keep everything up, and you know where you're going, you got this all figured out. But then I have students that we piece together scholarships, and they get their full ride from like 5 different sources or 6 different sources. Some of them have $20,000 one external scholarship plus a whole bunch of small ones together. And so it's a matter of who is looking for you. I say that all the time. I'm so glad Krista said that. Even academic, the tall, like if you're looking for tall people, find the scholarships that's looking for tall people, like Kiara said. There's somebody looking for your kid and their talent. The catch is find them early before the scholarship deadline closes and actually apply. That's it.
Absolutely. Does anybody on the thread on the live have any last minute Q&A for us? We're opening up to general Q&A. If you guys want to type anything in the box, please type it in real quick. We'll give you guys a minute or so. Once our Q&A is completed, I'll have everybody please definitely announce how to get in contact with y'all. Social media, any way to get in contact with everybody on the call for their respective professions, and then we'll wrap it up. This is on Facebook Live, y'all. One thing I forgot to do, I'm just going to go and admit it. When in the middle of the call, I was like, dang, I should have recorded the call. Ain't even recorded. Hey, should have recorded the call. But it's all good. It's this particular setup.
I got you.
Okay, cool. This is able to be recorded. I just forgot because my mind was on trying to get everything set up and to moderate and everything. So sorry about that. But you guys will have access to us, of course. So no big deal there. Let me see. Anybody else really have anything for us? Let's see if I missed anything. And then let me see. I guess we got that. We got that one. We got that one. We got that. Oh, everybody that is on the call, I did put the link to those particular 2 lists for the schools that are or are not going to be included for the test optional scenario this year, and also dropping the SAT and ACT requirements. So please make sure you do go to those links. If for some reason you missed it and you can't get it, feel free to inbox me on Facebook Messenger or Instagram or whatever the case may be as well. Let me see. Oh, it says will be. Hold on, y'all. I'm trying to get these last minute questions in. The school is limited. Okay. Emmanuel said, what is the best way to be seen by U.S. schools as an international athlete? I'm going to go on and pitch that off to Krista real quick.
The best way is to simply either pick up the phone if you have the capabilities or if you can, or send a well-crafted email. So essentially, the same way American kids are going to get in front of them. You don't need anything super special. If you do have video, that does help them because they won't be able to come see you right now. So the best way is going to be an email, a phone call, and then sending them your highlight tape or sending them just enough information that they need to be able to verify who you are. Send them your stats. They need to know what your stats are like. Send them your grades as well. And then send them why you're interested in their program.
All right, cool. Somebody else said, Latasha Drain said, will be looked at as a gap year, summer interns and things canceled. I'm not sure if that relates to the last thing she had in here, though. I don't know if that's a technical question or not. Latasha, if you have a question a little bit more deeper into that, let us know so we can address that. Tiffany said, great information. Okay, cool. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So if anybody doesn't have any other major questions for us, and also when we go, y'all live goes away, you can also still add comments on it on the replay as well. So that way we can still address them. Kiara, go ahead and give everybody all the ways to contact you through social media or whatever you feel comfortable giving out. And I'll go around the table and I'll be last.
I mainly use Instagram, so feel free to follow me at free_money_Maven, Maven. That's Instagram. If you want to email me, that's admin, ADMIN, at freemoneymaven.com. Or if you want to go to the website, freemoneymaven.com.
All right, perfect. Thank you. All right, Krista, how can everybody get in contact with you?
So you can find me on social, basically all my socials at Coach Krista Forbes. I'm Krista with a K, Krista Forbes. You can find me on Instagram at those, as well as Facebook. If you want to go to the website, it's actually now Track Scholarship. That's where also our Track Scholarship crash course is available as well. So if you do want to know more about that, you can head on over to trackscholarshipacademy.com. If you want to email, you can email at coaching@collegeproacademy.com.
Yeah, she got some bomb programs coming out too, man. So please stay tuned in to what she's doing out there in Atlanta. All right, Tandy, go ahead. How can people get in contact with you?
All right, so I have Facebook primarily. My personal page, I do a lot of contact out there. You can always get me on my business page as well at the Full Ride Guide. On IG, on the gram, you can get me at 30-Day Full Ride. That is named after the book I have, the 30-Day Full Ride Scholarship Guide. And I also have a Facebook group. Now, that's where I give out little nuggets, extra stuff. And that's where a lot of people join from tonight. And that is getscholars.com. That will drop you right into the Facebook group and get you more goodies. And you can join me for a challenge next week. Let's get it done, class of 2021-2022.
Love it.
Awesome. All right. And then, of course, y'all can reach me on Facebook at It's Not Complicated Tutoring. You'll see my name, JV, as well, at Inc. Tutoring. On LinkedIn under JVille or It's Not Complicated Tutoring, and or Twitter as well, of course, under at Inc. Tutoring. So you either gonna find me at Inc. Tutoring or you're gonna find me under my name. But the website, www.inctutoring.com, and then the letter J.VL, V as in Victor, EAL, at inctutoring.com. Y'all, we really appreciate y'all tuning in. Hopefully you learned a lot of information tonight. There's a lot thrown at you in an hour and a little bit of change, but hopefully you got a chance to really get it in. If you have any questions for any of our panelists tonight and or myself, please let us know, inbox us, shout us out, whatever the case may be. Please share this. If you did get this or you catch us on a replay, make sure you share this out all your groups, parents, everybody that you know that needs this information. Please share it. Tonight, everybody on this panel gave their time tonight, for the free 99. We're here to make sure you guys are getting what you need, but they do have programs that, that they are able to help you with and work with you with privately as well. So make sure that you do hit them up for those things. And I think tonight will be a good wrap So we will close it off. And then, of course, like I said, just let us know if y'all need anything. All right. I will see y'all,
All right.
or we will see y'all later.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, y'all. Let me close off the live. I can get it done. I would not remember how, right? Close this off.
I'm looking to see if it.
I'm trying to figure out how to get it done, y'all. I'm trying to remember where the Facebook is. Okay, I can't remember where the Facebook is. Nah, I done got lost. Oh, there it goes. Stop sharing. Cool.